I had friends back in Peoria who were very, very poor, needed it, needed it, were very interested in having it, were saving up and, starving and going without this, that, and the other thing so that maybe they could take the, so, and that was my initial focus in getting into all of that. So, I come from kind of that school of thought. But again, if you'd like to send an additional check.
Well, seeing how.
Jeff, while we're on that subject, another thing I've heard from some people is that the closer you were up the ladder, the purer the Reiki energy. That if you can get attuned by someone who, was Barbara Ray, or that's better than someone who's lower down the list.
There might be some value to that, in a sense that research is showing that if someone is incapable of transmitting a specific vibration, they're generally incapable of attuning someone in the traditional method to that vibration. Simply because if their energy field is blocked to it, how's their energy field going to be used to transmit it? That's a fairly logical statement. But research has also shown me that if that person does it at a distance, then enough of their energy field remains out of it, and it's enough of a pure intent thing that they are able to give a full attunement regardless of what they carry themselves.
What do you define as distance? 6 feet, 2 miles?
We'll get to that.
Oh.
We'll get to that. It doesn't matter, 6 feet, 10 miles, whatever. So that is very interesting. Anytime you're doing an attunement and you're actually touching the person physically, a great deal of your energy system is involved. We'll speak about that a little bit later. That makes a certain amount of sense to me.
But instead of, I understand what you're saying about the quality or that you may be able to keep in your energy, but I'm talking about how does the lineage affect what you're able to carry?
Well, obviously, if someone, if someone 1, 2, 3, 4 steps removed from you in your lineage had that problem, then that'll affect you, on down the line. I don't think that it really matters that much, to be perfectly honest. The more you work with it, the more you're going to be open to it. It's the same current, The guides are going to kick it in at some point to you. I think it does make a big difference of whether or not you actually heal or not, or if you just go around and teach here and there, or where your focus is. The more you work with the energy, the more you're going to be open to it. It's as simple as that. And open to the energy doesn't mean open to it. Open to the energy in the attunement style means open to the energy in a healing sense. So, go.
Yeah.
Well, what I hear from this group that I mentioned before, traditionalist group, and they say that they have a support group that meets weekly, and so people drop in from other places that have Reiki, and they say, boy, that person's in here, like I couldn't feel any Reiki energy from them. Now, I don't know if they're that good at identifying Reiki energy versus not. It seems like there might be people out there teaching who just read the book.
Yeah, that is a possibility. That is an absolute possibility. I remember when I first got attuned to Reiki, to a third degree, I did it on a weekend, right? And the person that did it in Peoria, who came and traveled through Peoria every now and then, not Jeannie, this other guy. Jeannie only came once a year. And so very few people consequently took it from Jeannie. And she only did it because she was visiting somewhere. So, it was this really ubiquitous thing. But it worked out incredibly for me because I wound up having this really neat person, an introduction to it, and where I probably would have discarded it otherwise. Synchronicity, such as it is. I came back from this weekend, and as I said, I got it primarily to make it dirt cheap and affordable for my friends. And so I put together a class with my friends. It was enough to cover, what I paid for the workshop. And instantly throughout the Peoria community, this lady that brought in the other guy was oh, that's just fakey Reiki, it's not real. Our master had to study for over a year before he, this, that, and that's the way it should be done, and it should cost thousands of dollars. And so I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination immune to this stuff. And then my point was, I didn't want any of you to leave thinking that you would be either. So, you know, I mean, I beat that down because, you know, fortunately my friends weren't looked upon as, you know, closed-minded. They were, you know, pretty well spread throughout the community and whatnot, and fairly well respected, especially when it came to energy. Certainly my best friend was. And he did a good job of standing up for me while I was out traveling around and stuff. But nonetheless, I mean, that happened in my own backyard, you know, after I came back from, and the same is true of, you know, none of us, nobody outside of this workshop is at this workshop, you know, I mean, unless they lay their hands on a tape or something of it. God only knows what went on here, you know, it's the same with everything else. So, you know, by all means, keep that in mind, you know, I mean, you're not going to be immune to any of this type of stuff, any more than I'm immune to it, any more than, you know, it's going to be, people are going to be insanely jealous, for one thing. I mean, that's what it came down to for me in Peoria, was the fact that that this lady essentially, you know, didn't take the risk, didn't go out and do it herself, you know, still hasn't. So, you know, when I got back, you know, obviously she was, you know, not at all happy that I was doing what she dreams of doing, you know. And the same thing it's the same thing it's possible to, you know, happen with all of you as well. So keep that in mind. And I mean, here you have, and I would hope that things like that make it back to me. You know, I mean, I would really like to know what people say behind my back or whatever. And I don't, you know, hear that much, but.
My aspect on this is that Reiki heals on all levels of ourselves. And if we have issues with jealousy and insecurity of not being able to accomplish things, then, or we want to be sure that we don't have, then something's going to come up in our lives from a person like this lady, which you knew better than. But it's her issue, and you happen to be there for her to say, why aren't you doing this? And instead of taking that, seeing you go out and do what she'd always dreamed of to stimulate her, she turned it back in on herself in anger and in jealousy, because that all comes back more inside. And I see all of the politics of Reiki and all of the struggle and issues as part of the learning process and the balancing that Reiki is doing for each one of us. Okay, what am I trying to tell myself here if I'm drawing this into my arena? And okay, no, this is not my stuff, that's hers, fine, I'm going on.
And we were very close friends. We started a Reiki group in town and everything.
I've had some interesting experiences in Pueblo because the Reiki community in Pueblo mostly knows each other or knows of each other. Mm-hmm. And I've taught classes that were not Reiki classes where I got pretty well acquainted with my students. And some of them had had Reiki from one person and some from another and so forth. We do a lot of trading of attunements back and forth, you know, and so they come from different sources. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of people say to me, oh my goodness, well, there's a difference in who attunes you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in what happens or how the energy feels and stuff. So I kind of go along with that there's something in the personal energy of the attuner that does affect the attunement.
Mm-hmm. And you can step outside of that by doing it at a distance.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to do, today when I do the attunements, I'm going to do the people who haven't been initiated to mastership before, I'm going to do that in traditional style, laying on of hands, all of that. The rest of you, I'm going to do at a distance at a group. That way I can implant not only, pardon?
You're going to spec us.
Yeah, that way I can not only implant the master, I was thinking about this last night, I can not only implant the master Sai Baba attunement, but I'll have time to implant first, second, and third degree Sai Baba attunements, which are pretty different, as well as other stuff. So I thought that might be a cool thing.
When I talked to Kathleen Milner on the phone about this, because I heard about that initiation tape, and I told her, I'd like to get that initiation tape. She said, well, I don't sell that to anybody unless they've been initiated. And she says, I prefer to initiate people over the phone. And I thought, wait a minute, that sounds pretty strange, but now, from what you're telling me, that could be the very reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could very well be the very reason. It's interesting, you know. I mean, the more you work with it, the more you realize that it's just, it really is a little bit more powerful. So anyway, that's what I wanted to. Tom, could you zoom out just a skosh on that? I keep squatting down to give myself headroom. Today I can see the monitor. Yesterday I couldn't. So I've got this my old TV cameraman thing going. All right, just tilt up a little bit, stand left. Oh yeah, thanks.
There's also the thing that if you were to have an attunement by the same person on 2 different days, it would be different.
And is that your energy or their energy?
I think it's both.
I do
Or
too.
cosmic energy.
And cosmic energy. So everything is,
All an attunement
We have
is an
some
introduction to a current of
responsibility
energy.
for our
What you do with that introduction to the current of energy is up to you. You can grow with it, or you can ignore it. If you ignore it, it's going to remain in a trace amount until the time that you decide to work with it again. You can get rid of attunements. This is something that's not talked about very much, but it's an easy thing to do. You have to do it with, a focus of intent. But if you intend strongly to get rid of even a specific symbol, or the energy of a specific symbol, or the energy of an entire attunement, you can do that quite easily. So,
It's sort of like the magnetic strip on the credit card, put it up against the magnet and it's gone.
And I've had to do something similar with that. There was this guy in a Rockford, Illinois class that I was doing one time. This guy had been meditating for months and months at some Buddhist center to open himself up, And so he thinks that he's talking to me before, and he thinks that he's, no, the attunement's not going to do much for me. I'm so open to everything now, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's not going to shut you down. It's going to focus you on one thing. No. Of course it did. It like completely negated 3 months of his meditation. And shutting down. And now he's just got this one bite, and he's hating it. This really sucks. I just spent 3 months meditating to open myself up. It's like, get rid of it. Hang it out for a few weeks and see what you think of it. If you don't open back up and it doesn't come back or whatever. So he went through the 21-day cleansing process, and I gave him the procedure to remove it if he wanted to. And I think he decided to stay with it after all. But nonetheless, you encounter quirky kind of things like that. And Tom just ran across an interesting story like that too.
What are your thoughts on the time lapses between the levels of Reiki?
I don't.
Your different things.
That's an intuitive thing for me. Generally speaking, I don't care. I think that the levels are pretty complementary in that first degree is real physical and etheric, so that's where the cleansing takes place. Second degree adds mental, emotional stuff, so that's where the cleansing takes place. Third degree, as well as physical and etheric, is getting knocked out. Third degree is adds the spiritual level, the integrative level, and all of that. It seems to me they just piggyback one on top of each other. It's not. I don't see any conflict there at all. Yeah, I've attuned people all the way in one day when I felt that they could handle it. And there have also been times when I've made people wait. So that's your own intuition on that. I generally teach first and second degree back to back over the course of a weekend, and I do that because at first degree, you can have first degree for the rest of your life, never be interested in getting second degree. But if you take second degree, you really begin to cleanse stuff in your life. That really is a transformational energy. You look back 2 years from when you had your second degree attunement, and you usually don't recognize yourself.
Your thoughts on initiating children?
I think it's a good idea.
We talked about it briefly yesterday, but my youngest daughter's 4, and I don't know if she's, my oldest is 12. I've initiated a 3-year-old who wanted to.
The experience that I've had with initiating kids has always been basically the same, and that is that they get a lot nicer. I don't know how else to put it.
We have an initiation.
More cooperative?
It's kind of tough to get them to sit there, so you kind of do your best.
Both my kids were initiated. One's a 13-year-old and one's a 7-year-old. And the 7-year-old is our little elder, we call him in our house. And he fell off the playground equipment. And he goes, Mommy, I immediately vacate myself. But then he went